So I'm going to pass it along to my colleague on the City Council, Jesse Letterman, and then from there we'll everybody will get a moment, 2 minutes to speak before, and then we'll open it up for the rest of the folks that are at home listening or out in the crowd to ask us any questions that you guys desire.
Thank you very much, Councilor Gomez, and thank you all for being here. I'm Jesse Letterman. I'm an at-large member of the Springfield City Council. And before we begin today, we do want to take a moment, as some folks may have heard, there is a developing situation on Page Boulevard in Springfield, and we'd like to take a moment of silence for the victims there. We'll take a moment of silence now. Thank you.
Thank you, Jesse.
I wanted to take a moment just to welcome everybody here to the town hall meeting. I initiated these town hall meetings at the beginning of my term on the City Council, and the reason that we've started holding these across the city was during my time out campaigning across Springfield, and as well as many of my colleagues up here, what we heard continuously from residents was that they wanted to see their elected officials engaged and present in the community, not just at election time. And so while many of us are often with you at your neighborhood meetings and at different community gatherings across the city, we wanted to create a more formal opportunity for folks to come out and share their questions, their comments, ideas, and concerns. And so this is our second town hall meeting that we've been able to host. The first one was in Mason Square in February, and you know, I think that the results that came out of that town hall meeting were a testament to why this is a valuable practice for us to hold. We were able to address a number of constituent concerns that came out of that meeting, and are even continuing to work with residents who had come out to that meeting from the Mason Square neighborhoods on their issues, and we're glad to be here in the North End now to talk about issues in the North End and also across Springfield. The hope is that these will become commonplace. We don't want these to just be something that happens once in a while as some sort of media event. We hope to continue them as a tradition and really make them a part of the local government in Springfield. I do want to take a minute also to thank Focus Springfield for coming out. They're going to be videotaping and rebroadcasting later on this particular town hall meeting, and that helps keep these issues current with people who might not be able to be here. They're able to watch it later on online or at home. And also, so folks know, we're live streaming the town hall meeting via Facebook on my Facebook, facebook.com/JL Letterman. And so if you're online, you can also share that stream so that your friends and family who are on Facebook are able to follow along with the content here this evening and be able to hear some of the questions and answers that get shared. So we're very grateful to have colleagues from across the city and across local government here, but I'm going to introduce our moderator, Zulma Rivera Delgado from Neighbor to Neighbor, who is going to walk us through the night, give our colleagues an opportunity to introduce themselves, and also tell us a little bit about her organization's work.
Thank you for having me, and I'd like to thank all of you guys for coming too. Like he said, my name is Zulma Rivera. I'm an organizer at Neighbor to Neighbor in the Springfield chapter. We basically are a grassroots organization, a power building organization, and we put people and the planet before profit. Just recently, last year, we lost our dear friend Jafet Robles, which many people know, and after that, it was really hard for us to kind of move forward. I stepped into the position, and I've had a great amount of support after that. We're doing great work in the city of Springfield. If anyone's interested, you can certainly hit me up or at neighbor Massachusetts.org, and we can certainly get back with you guys. I'm going to allow the elected officials to have their space to introduce themselves and also give a brief description of what their role is in the city council, so we have an understanding of what it is that they do. I'm also going to call all of you whose name is on the list to come up. This is a time for whoever is on the microphone to have their moment. I just ask that the audience please give them that respect. And don't, overtalk them and allow them to have that space. So with that being said, gentleman to my left.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Melvin Edwards. I'm the Ward 3 City Councilor. I have the pleasure and honor of serving the city of Springfield in my 5th term now. Many of you know me for my work with Keep Springfield Beautiful. I sit on several boards and have sit on several boards over the many years. I have been active in job development within the city of Springfield, I am chairman and have been chairman for the past 8 years of the Responsible Employer Ordinance Committee, and I have been monitoring for the last 8 years primarily the hiring of minorities, women in residence, all municipal construction. I am very excited about the direct trajectory of the city, and it's been a pleasure and honor to serve, and I'm thankful to our hosts and to this community for allowing me an opportunity to sit here before you and answer your questions. Thank you.
You guys could pass the mic down.
Hey, good evening, everyone. My name is Latonia Monroe Naylor. I'm on the Springfield School Committee. I'm an at-large member of the school committee, and I am here tonight to hear your concerns. My day job is Director of AmeriCorps at Springfield College, and I also want to just recognize Bishop Naylor, who's here, who's my pastor, along with some elders and ministers, and Minister Muhammad, who's here as well. Because it's important for us to acknowledge our faith-based officials as well as our elected officials. And so I look forward to hearing any things that you all want to say and any questions that you have, and hopeful that we can continue to have these dialogues.
Just a reminder for anybody who might not have had a chance to sign up to speak, we do have the sign-up list up here. You can also sign up again with Roger and Ellen in the back if you hadn't had a chance to sign up yet.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Good evening, everyone. Orlando Ramos, City Council President. Happy to be here. Looking forward to listening to your concerns. I want to thank my colleagues for putting this together, and hopefully I will be able to address some of your concerns tonight. Thank you.
State Representative Carlos Gonzalez, good evening, buenas noches. Thank you for hosting another one of these events throughout the city of Springfield. I'm excited to be here, listen, and learn as much as I possibly can. I think what Zuma said, politics, people before politics is so essential and critical to the needs of the city of Springfield. As we look at the resurgency that Springfield is having, we need to make sure that everybody's included, and I look forward to continue fighting the fight at the State House to make sure that the voices of Springfield are heard.
Okay, thanks. Thank you so much for giving us that description. The first speaker that we're going to have up is Tavar Jones, and he wants to address the topic of energy weather policy.
Hi, good evening. Can everybody hear me? Is this good?
Yeah, it's good.
Okay. So actually it's the emergency weather policy, and I kind of wrote a lot of language in it to, connect that anybody can be homeless, and there's a lot of different populations that has happened to be homeless today. So in Springfield, we have a large houseless population that is very vulnerable and is currently being displaced by gentrification, and they need help. The populace is swelling and becoming more diversified, with over 40% of Springfield being renters and a large homeless population. The most vulnerable of these societies are the elderly and our younger people. To counteract this trend, there is now the Center for Access Services on Springfield Technical Community College campus to assist college students suffering from a vigorous stretch of life. And the Shine Center in West Springfield, working with youth younger than 21 that cannot go to shelters in Springfield, accompanied by their elder because of age restrictions. These people are vulnerable. All people are vulnerable to extreme weather patterns during winter months, hypothermia, snowstorms, and etc. And to the summer season, there are heat waves, tornadoes, and etc. I don't mean to offend anyone, because we have a good government system locally currently, and you all are great workers that stand for moral justice. I've been a witness of this at multiple occasions. But what I'm asking now is for another stand for this significantly large, vulnerable population of people that will not survive another tornado if revising the emergency weather response policy does not happen. We should add a plan period. There should be some type of formal plan that is continuous. And also, we should raise the temperature requirement from -15 wind chill, and there's a lot of other things. Thank you all here for giving me this platform. Thank you all human service workers and Helen Colton Harris for recognizing the epidemic of youth homelessness in the city of Springfield by funding organizations that counteract this trend. I ask of you to pull together a special task force to be a proactive instead of reactive organization working on revising the emergency weather policy.
Thank you, Tavar. Does anyone want to answer to that?
Tavar, thank you for your, sorry. Thank you. See, now this is more like it. Tavar, thank you for that. I want to let you know that on June 13th, our colleagues have gotten together, and with economic development, we're going to have a conversation behind how about creating a housing task force. I know as city council, it's not in our power to create the housing task force, but we can at least listen to a lot of the information that you guys have, so we can be critical. And I know that being chairman of economic development, that's something that I pride myself on, and specifically on the gentrification piece, because I see that happening in Ward 1 specifically. I know that Health and Human Services, our chair, I'll let Jesse talk a little bit about that when it comes to the housing epidemic with young people. And we can learn and probably educate more of our community about what are the initiatives that your organization is doing and how we can better assist and better serve you guys. But for the most part, I just want to let you know on June 13th, we will be having a meeting behind the housing initiatives and housing task force, where we'll have Jerry from housing there, and also other organizations like Arise and yourself that are going to be invited to it. So I just scheduled that meeting today. It's ironic that you had brought that up today. Okay.
Thank you, Adam. Jesse.
Thanks, Olma, and thanks, Tavar, for the question. Just to follow up on Adam's point, certainly we've been on the record in the past as calling for a housing task force, and I think what's more important than a housing task force is a housing study. I mean, a task force is nothing without the data to back it up. I know we recently were asked to take some votes regarding a major housing situation around Chestnut Street. And one of the questions we started to ask was, in the broader picture of housing, how do we make sure that as development in the city of Springfield goes forward, we make sure that people that are already residents of the city of Springfield are able to stay in their homes, and that we do not see the types of things that have happened in other communities where rents begin to rise and rise and rise to a point where it's untenable for people to remain in their homes. So what we've looked to do is get a snapshot. I call it a comprehensive housing assessment, but what it is a snapshot of housing in the city of Springfield. We want to know how many units there are, how much is rental, how much is homeowner. On the rental units, how many are occupied, how many are unoccupied, how many are up to code, and what are the different cost differentials throughout that. And so I think we're going to have that meeting on June 13th. We'll be able to talk with the housing director. I know I've had meetings with our housing director about this, but I'm glad we're going to start solidifying it into policy at the Economic Development Committee. And also on the cold weather response plan, or you said the emergency weather response plan, it's the same thing. We held a meeting, the Health and Human Services Committee, several months ago, Councilor Edwards and myself, to discuss that policy, and I actually know I received a proposal, I think, from your committee on specific changes that they'd like to see, especially including raising the limit. So for folks that don't know, we do have a cold weather response plan in the city that goes into effect, but it doesn't go into effect until the wind chill is below -0. And so in other communities, we've seen that rise to somewhere around 32 degrees, and that opens, more options for people who are homeless to be able to come into shelter and things like that. So I plan, I'm forwarding those recommendations on to our commissioner. I want to see what she has to say about those proposed changes, but I'm certainly supportive of looking at the cold weather response plan as we did in February, and trying to move that along to see that development happen.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and second on our list is B. Moreno, and she would like to speak on the Harena campaign. You can bring the mic down if you need. Do you need? Yeah. There you go.
Good evening, elected officials. My name is Bruni Moreno, and I would like to know if any one of you know when the school and community center is going to be fixed to improve the air quality and when the community center is going to be reopened at Helena.
Latonia?
So I'm not going to answer it in 100%. I'm actually going to defer to Councilor Gomez and Rep. Gonzalez, but I do want to say that Maria's not here on tonight, Maria Perez, but she's been spearheading some efforts to make sure that from the school committee side of it, that we are definitely paying attention to residents and finding out what the concerns are. So we have brought it before the school committee and mayor, and we were told at our last conversation, this was maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, that the reason why things have been on hold is because of the Department of Transportation, and that they have basically held up funding and everything because of their end of it. They have to fix the membrane and the pathway, and once that's fixed, then obviously they can fix the school, but without that, then it's basically fixing and the problem keeps happening. So what we're trying to do is get to the solution of it, which that is the issue. So I'm actually going to defer at this point just for our counselor and Rep. Rep. Gonzalez to give us an update as far as what's happening on that side of it. But I just wanted to speak on behalf of the school committee to let you all know that we are aware and we are working on it as much as we can on our angle.
Okay.
Thank you, Adam.
Just first, I just want to say we've been working on this for a very long time, trying to find out an answer on what side and where we're at. We've held numerous maintenance and development meetings dealing with the building, because on the city council side, we have to deal with the essential building, and where the leak essentially is coming from, allegedly is a state kind of situation, but I know that Rep. Gonzalez has been doing phenomenal work in figuring out exactly, the information that we need. I know that he is right now working on some more information that I know I'll let him speak a little bit too, but the North End Coalition and also the Climate Justice Coalition, I know for a long time we've been collaborating, as myself at the table with them, to try to figure out when we're gonna get this space available. I know what we do need to understand, that there's 3 parts to this building. There's Tunnel A, Tunnel B. Tunnel B is the school, which is essentially the space where the children go to school in, and then there's Tunnel C, that's the Plainfield side. And Tunnel B, for the most part, last year we have put together and replacing and working with the school committee on changing the whole HVAC system. So we have a whole, with the air quality in that portion of Tunnel B, that portion is supposed to be taken care of in the next couple months, because I know that money had just came in, and they have put that on they've put it on the at the top of the list. As priority. Thank you for the word. But for the most part, on the city side, that's where I know what we're at. But on the state side, I know that I'm gonna hand over the mic to Rep. Gonzalez, and he can better understand that. But collectively, all of us have been trying to figure out exactly when and how and when is this gonna happen. So we're working hard on it.
Thank you, and that is so critical and important. When is it going to happen, right? And one of the first things when I came on board as a state representative was to find out what were the issues, who was responsible, and when they were going to get started. And I think historically what people found that there was a bond bill, but a bond bill is money that the governor has to allow to be released. And the city prioritizes what type of money out of all the bonds that they're looking for, whether it's for a park or for a school or whatever, they can prioritize whichever. So the governor at the time, and I think we were all working towards, to ask the governor to release that fund so they can start fixing the membrane. And that did not happen. So I have the list of phone calls, letters to the governor's office to discuss that, and I've asked all the members of the Helena Coalition to do the same. I hope they have done that. We need to continue to do that. But let me just tell you, on Mass DOT, and we've been working with them, 2 of the things that are important to know. Back in 2 years ago, when we were getting close to having a better understanding of what was happening, the director, the then commissioner of Mass DOT, moved on, okay? And there was another person put in place as acting. That person still remains as acting. in District 2, which is responsible for Mass DOT, which is the person we've met in many meetings here in Springfield, I wrote a strong email on numerous occasions to them. And then most recently, Senator Welch and myself met with Congressman Neo as well as the new acting director of Mass DOT and highlighted the issue that we were somewhat frustrated with the lack of response from Mass DOT in such a short period of time. And they were going to get back to us. So that process started. And then 3 months ago, the director of District 2 is no longer there. Okay? So now there's a new person coming in, and every time it appears that they have to get informed as to what happened, what was happening, what needs to be done. But I'll tell you what they've told me. They were going to develop the cost estimates for each potential course of action. So they had looked at what the potential membrane, who was responsible. One of the items that they did bring to our attention was an agreement with the city of Springfield. And that agreement, which I have here, and this is all my notes on Herena, and I have a large note pack with them, is an agreement that when Herena was built, Herena, and these are the tunnel plans, had an agreement that the city of Springfield is responsible for the school and that it would not hold the state, Mass DOT, responsible for any repairs. Somehow, through the process and the community fighting, and I think very right so, Mass DOT started discussing how they can assist. When we found out this about a year ago, we reported to everybody, but we asked Mass DOT, and we were very strong in the ask we want them to do something more, although they may not, legally be responsible. So they were doing certain steps, and there was 4 steps they were going to do. I received an email that they have accomplished 2 of those steps, which was part of cleaning between the highway and the building. So between the highway and Herena, there's a space, and water falls obviously from the 91 onto the rooftop. And if you don't clean the gutters and if you don't clean where the water is going to access to, well, that will lead to standing water, which will lead to draining, right? It makes sense from an engineering point of view, and I'm no engineer, maybe somebody can address that also. In addition to that, they were looking at Tunnel A, Tunnel B, and the other tunnel there. So they were doing something on Main Street prior to the repavement of Main Street, and we're happy that they repay that, which they've accomplished. There's 2 items left to be done that they have stated in writing, because every time they were giving everything to me verbally, and I kept refusing, I said, I want it in writing. So after many emails and transitioning of people that are not longer there, we have it in writing. So they have 2 more steps to do, which they said that after the kids are out, they're going to do. Okay, so they're going to accomplish. And work with the city to do those 2 steps, because they need something permanent. And one of those steps may mean they have to re-traffic 91. Again, I don't know if that's what they're going to do. I'm just telling you what they've explained. So that takes some permitting issues that have to be addressed with the city, with the state, and obviously with the federal government because of that relationship of a highway. So I want to echo the same sentiment. My daughters went to Herena. I know what it means to this community. This is our community. We will continue to fight for Herena. And I'm so delighted that we haven't stopped fighting, and we will not stop fighting.
Thank you, Carlos, and we will follow up with you. I do want to take it back real quick. You did say it was really important that people write letters to the governor, and And that was just to address the urgency of fixing the school to release, you said some funding?
That was the prior bond, transportation fund.
Okay, if you can give me that information,
Sure.
and I'll pass it on to every single one of you, and if all of you guys can write a letter to the governor to see if we can get those funds released, that'd be great.
And just to be clear, now we're asking them to request that Mass DOT finish those 2 steps that they've said they have to finish. That's what we're asking them now, because Mass DOT took the burden to finance the projects that 2 steps that they did, and they're gonna do these last 2 steps. So now, the funding, that's out of the question. The issue is finish the 2 things that they have to do, and then the city can continue to do the repairs that they have to do with Harena, if so be it.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you, Carlos. And I'm pretty sure Harena will come up in this list again. So moving forward, we're going to invite Jenny Girona with Harena question again.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Oops. Hi, my name is Jenny Girona, and I'm a North End resident, Brightwood section for almost 40 years. Is there any way that any of the elected officials here, you know, that we've elected the people, can find out for us? And I know you Carlos and Adam, they're part of the Harena Coalition. Thank you, Latanya, for that you're in the loop also. I just want to know how much money was allocated at MassDOT budget, and under what line item, if any, and also what is the timeline for fixing the Harena Tunnel and also the roof, because it's like non-stop, and we're not, like you said, Carlos, we're not going to stop until this is resolved.
Sure. Yeah. I think it was for you.
I think it's part of the same, sort of a little bit of the same question, but
yeah.
again, I think, Mass DOT, there wasn't no line item. Mass DOT gets a big budget, so they do the transportation here, they do transportation, Turnpike, they do Pittsfield, Greenfield, all over the state, right? So they get a lot, but each district gets a specific amount of dollars, and so they have to do whatever is requested. Like right now, in addition to Harena, we have a lot of issues in the neighborhood that we're working on, right? But listen to this, I want to get a landscaping management plan from them. I don't want to wait till you call me to say, they're not, the grass along the highway is all the way here and you can't see it and it's causing an accident, right? Well, don't you have a plan? Make a plan. So you get your budget, you make a plan. So going to Harena, I think what happened previously, and that's why we're so strong with them, and what we say behind closed doors can't be said in front, but I'm very direct with them, is that when, what, how, and who. And they've answered that. So there's 2 more steps. One of them, like I said, is the Turnpike part. The Turnpike called 91. And the other one may be potentially doing some work on Bernie Avenue, which means permitting because it was just repaved, and then repaving again. So that timeline, to what they told me in writing, is after school. So I can forward the elected officials the email, that way you can have that. And I've also asked 2.5 months ago, and I've worked with Maria Perez and Adam on this, was to ask for a meeting, because I don't want to have no meetings with Mass DOT alone. I don't want to have no more meetings with city alone. I want Mass DOT, the city, what they tell me, they tell the city, what the city tells me, they tell them. That way, we're all on the same page. And I think that's going to give you a better answer. So I have asked them for June 11th. They haven't confirmed that day to me, okay? So, but they did give me the statement of, in writing, as to the 4 steps they were doing. 2 are completed, 2 are supposed to be starting after the school finishes.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Ralph.
And let's just lastly, I have a copy of the lease agreement that was signed in 1973. This is a copy. This is public information, but it took us a long time. It took 2 years to get this, but we have it. So, you want a copy? You can get it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and I think the frustration is that because the building is so complex, and we all know that, what the guidelines were way back in the 70s should not be the guidelines back now in 2018. And so we need to reevaluate whose real role is, who's responsible for what. And I say that only because dividing the building into 3 pieces because of funding is not, and people pointing the fingers at who's responsible for what, and not still taking account that there's a whole community here that has not been having access to a community center for over 10 years, and it's been condemned. And so we have to feel some type of way, and we just want to know who it is that we need to put pressure on so that you guys can get the information that you need to get the job done. You know, and so I understand the whole explanation, and it's very complex, but please understand that our kids are dying. Our kids have nothing to do. Their parks look very crazy, and the only thing they have is Chestnut and Helena to work with. And so that's why we are here, you know, putting pressure on you guys today. But thank you for your work.
Thank you so much. I have a letter for all of you. That's what we've been doing with the Helena. Maybe we just pass them on. Thank you.
I'm going to bring up the next speaker, Ms. Sheila McLaren, and she's going to speak on the topic of the completion of the streets and Springfield sidewalks. Did I say your last name right?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's all right. It's McElwain. It's hard.
Okay.
It's hard.
Yeah.
I'm here to talk about, first of all, I want to thank everyone in the North End for the wonderful job they do being neighbors of the north end of the Springfield Riverwalk. I live in Forest Park, and believe me, I like this Riverwalk better than Forest Park. So thank you very much. The houses next to the Riverwalk up here are beautiful. The people are friendly. You couldn't ask for more. And I hope everyone who's following this broadcast on the web will use the Riverwalk, especially in the North End. I also wanted to tell people about the Complete Streets demonstration that will take place on June 30th in front of at the Lincoln School, between the Lincoln School and the hospital. You've seen these funny markings on the street, these funny bike Cheryl things. Well, this will show you how Springfield streets will look when they've all been done over to be safe and secure places for pedestrians, cyclists, and automobile traffic. So there'll be events for children, there'll be a bicycle rodeo and a walk on it so that people can walk around and say, this needs to be fixed, that needs to be fixed, and someone will be keeping track of those recommendations. So thank you. I'll give you the packet.
I just want to talk a little bit about it because I've been working with PVPC and the organizations putting this together, which is, we got rained out our last date, but I want to invite everybody to come down to Lincoln School. Like she said, there's going to be a bike rodeo. Lincoln, did I say that? Yep. I said Lincoln, right? So I just want to say how important this is, because if you see with the renovations of our streets, and a lot of our streets we're having bike paths, and I know one of the biggest conversations that we've been hearing is that we have a lot of group of youngsters, which I can appreciate that they're riding their bikes, but we want to make sure that we educate them that we have bike paths for a reason, and that these bike lanes are for their safety. And we're going to be, the event is going to be from Lincoln School all the way up to Calhoun. And then Calhoun Street, we're going to have some bike shares. So if people are interested in learning about the bike share, we're going to be having a makeshift area where you can take the bike and go around. We're going to be closing down part of the streets as bike lanes so that we can go around in a circle from Calhoun to Lincoln. And there's going to be a bunch of organizations out there at Lincoln. So please come down and take part in this. Thank you so much.
June 30th. And they'll be looking for volunteers.
So we're, like she said, there's going to be volunteers.
11 to 3.
June 30th from 11 a.m. till 3 p.m.
I have posters. I'll give them to you.
Neighbor to neighbor can commit to that too.
Excellent. Did you get a set up for lunch?
And I'll give you my information before you leave.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sheila. Our next speaker is Carmen Santana, again on the Herrera campaign. Hot topic today.
Very hot. welcome to our beautiful neighborhood, city officials and state. One of the reasons that we live in the North End is because we love our neighborhood, so we have to be very aware of what happens in it. With that said, we have a coalition working together to try to get the tunnel fixed. We have a lot of mold. So within the years, there have been done a lot of tests. One of the major ones right now that we want the city to invite the health department to conduct an air quality control. I mean, it was done years ago. This was supposed to be follow-up the following year and every year after that, and it has not been done. I mean, they did one and it got stuck. They only do it at the school level, but they do not do it at the whole entire building level. As you come in through the main entrance and you look up at the ceiling, you look at the vents, and they're completely black. I mean, that's poor ventilation. So that attributes a lot to the mold. There's not enough air circulation there, so it will be, for the city officials and the state to conduct another air quality, testing, because it's not just the school that we're talking about. We're talking about every single resident that walks through these tunnels, and every individual is breathing air that is polluted with mold. And it hasn't been done since the last EPA study. And the EPA study said that they were going to do it every year, and it has not been done every year. So, as city officials, you let in school department, we would like to see if you, as the city and the state, could invite the Mass Health Department to conduct air quality testing on the whole building, not just the school, the whole entire building.
Thank you, Carmen.
Thank you.
Jesse, would you like to?
Carmen, thanks for the question. So I chair the Health and Human Services Committee, which has oversight of the Springfield Department of Public Health. We call it the Department of Health and Human Services. I'm glad to talk with the commissioner about putting that invitation out to whoever has the expertise or capacity to conduct that test. I don't know if we have the capacity in-house, and it might be better for it to be sort of an outside consulting group that comes in to give us those answers in sort of an unbiased form. I know we worked together before I was elected during my time working with groups like Climate Justice Coalition, Arise, Partners for Healthier Community on these issues, so we definitely have a cadre of people that we can reach out to make sure that we get the right experts in. So if that's the ask from the community, I'm happy to, as soon as tomorrow, start that conversation with the commissioner, and hopefully we can get a timeline for the neighborhood around, again, first, is there the willingness on behalf of the administration and the city, and then if so, can we begin to get a timeline for when it will occur?
Yeah, can you also let the residents know and the coalition know if there's been an approval to for the testing? So we would like at least to get a report after it's done, because all of a sudden, they do all this testing, but nobody knows what the answers are. So, I mean, it will be great if we could get an answer and a copy of the report once they do, if they do it, if we could get a copy of the results.
Certainly. I mean, I think that whomever is designated to do the study, I would push for the study to be released publicly.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Jesse. Thank you, Carmen.
You're welcome.
Our next speaker I'm going to call up is Donna Seymour. And she's going to speak on the topics of the streets, the crossing, and is it the Harena School?
And that as well.
Okay, yeah.
First and foremost, I was surprised to hear that they're still working on that. We're talking about the kids' health. What is taking them so long? Something needs to be done like ASAP, as far as that goes. As far as the kids' health and the teachers and whatnot, that needs to be taken care of. No more waiting for this, that, and the other. Okay, so much for that. Last year, I was over at Industry Avenue, and you've got buildings over there. You have 3 crosswalks. No lights, no nothing. You have handicap, seniors over there, you've got, Grady Senior Services, DCF. Then you've got a parking lot across the street. There's nothing to stop the trucks, the big trucks going through there, cars for the people to walk. Now this has been going on since last year, probably before that. I was sitting in my car, a man came out of the building in crutches. He had to walk across the street. Nothing to stop anything. Okay? Something needs to be done about that. And also, as far as the Greek church down here, something needs to be put there too. When they come out of church, I happen to be going through there one Sunday, or in West Springfield. There's nothing for them to go across the street. They gotta wait for the cars to go by to go, to go get the cars. Something needs to be put up there as well. As far as these streets, especially in Mason Square, and every street that they had a bus route on years ago, the streets are jacked up. Eastern Avenue should have been done years ago. Now, I got a list of the streets that are gonna be done. Now, mind you, King Street, that was bus street. They're gonna pave from Eastern Avenue to Walnut Street. The whole street needs to be done to the middle section. Trees are hanging in the streets, the holes and the cracks and everything. They need to start doing some work. They're being paid to do this and that and the other. But no one's doing anything. I call about the potholes. They did up by my back on Wilbraham Road, United. They filled in the holes that go into the stores and whatnot. They fill two and leave one empty. In the top of my street. Fill two and leave one empty. What is wrong with them? They get paid to do these things. And as far as I took my kids out to the park, in Forest Park, right? Out to the pool. And I just want to share these with you, if you don't mind. I contacted the Carlton Harris when I first got those. And she put them on, she shared them with the person that's supposed to take care of it. I had to end up going to the mayor with them. It finally got done. I haven't been out there lately to see if it still looks like it did when it first did. I'm sure it doesn't. But I will backtrack on that. And as far as the square, now I grew up in the square, came from North End Square, and they have a park out there. There's always been trees in there. They put a Vietnam monument up there, okay? And somebody put some trees in front of the monument. And the monument got smarred up last November. 50 years, never been touched. It got marred up. I shared these with you. I was coming down Wilbraham Road. I took those. And it's a shame, those trees need to come out of there. They put 3 trees in front of it. And you can't even see the monument now. Okay? Those trees need to come out. They have enough trees in back there, which is fine. But the thing got marred up last November. And that was there 50 years up there, and nothing's ever happened to them. Those trees need to come out. Put trees where they need to be put. And take care of the ones that we got. They're hanging all over the street. King Street is a mess. But yet it's still down 6 corners. They're going to do that to get down to the casino, right? How many accidents have been down to the 6 corners? Do you know how many bad accidents down there? Yeah. None. But they're going to fix that for the casino. They need to do the taxpayer street. And even I was talking with a girl today, going down to the city hall, people go down to pay bills. The girl said she got a $50 ticket. Now, behind the city hall, because I used to go down, behind the city hall, there's a lot of parking. Let the taxpayers park there to pay their bills. Workers need to park over there in the parking lot. There's a $5 parking lot, you park all day. But they need parking facilities downtown for the people that are paying their bills. And not the workers behind the city hall park. I mean, people go down there to pay the bills, they get tickets. It doesn't make any sense.
Thank you, Ms. Seymour. I didn't know whether to say sorry or continue, ma'am.
Thank you, Ms. Seymour. I just want to say Ms. Seymour and I talk often, and I appreciate you coming out to share your many observations with us, and this is why we do this. I know many of us are sitting up here with our notepads, and this is how we did the last one. We could all respond to it, but what I think is going to happen tomorrow, and what happened with the last one, is the appropriate department heads are going to get about, how many of us are up here? 6 emails from every elected official in the city on the same topic, and sometimes that's what it takes to move things. And so we saw it work with the last one, and we're going to keep it up with this one. So this is, it's important to come out and bring your observations, and thank you very much, Ms. Seymour.
And next time, we'll make sure to commit to bringing 2 or 3 more people with us, right? Yes. So next up, we have Marilyn Felix, and she wants to speak on the topic of bullying in Springfield Public Schools.
Thank you, everyone. This is my first town hall meeting.
If you want to bring the mic up just a little bit.
Thank you, Jesse, for spearheading this. It seems like it's working. I don't typically like to complain, but I guess this is the place to do it. I'm Marilyn Felix. I'm a product of the Springfield Public Schools, and I'm a big fan of the Springfield Public Schools. My older daughter graduated from Renaissance, and it's a great school. In saying that, I have another daughter who's not as traditional as my older daughter, and unfortunately, she's been bullied at the school for many, many, many years, 5 to 6 years. Every year, they say they're gonna do something, so I say, okay, it's taken care of. I don't have to, go crazy on it. But it just recently, there was an incident, and it was pretty sad. So I went down to the school department, and I stayed there until someone listened to me. So I had a meeting today where I feel that something's gonna happen differently. The only reason I think that happened is because I went down to the district office and I sent emails to Mr. Warwick, and another reason is because she's what you would call a twice exceptional student, where she has learning difference. So she falls under a certain category where they have to do certain things to make sure that she's safe. But this shouldn't be the case. What they're gonna do to make sure my daughter is safe should be done for every student. And it just hurts me to know that there's other students in the schools that don't have parents that are able to go out there and make sure that their kids are safe in school. And here in Springfield, we had a situation years ago where there was a suicide. There were times when I worried about what I would find when I went home. But nobody listened until I said, there are laws and you have to follow these laws. It shouldn't be like this. So what I'm asking for today is for the school committee to look into having a curriculum at the high school level. Okay? I know the curriculums, there are programs out there available. I know for a fact that they're not doing them in the high school where my daughter goes to. I know that they did do some stuff in middle school, and she gave me permission to come here and talk about it. And she gave me permission to talk about her specific incidents, but I'm not gonna go there. She's going to be talking to the middle school students because she's involved in a program that says that when youth speak to youth about bullying, that works. So the end of it is that I want to say these kids that are in these schools that are hurt and they're hurting other kids, these are the young adults that are shooting in Springfield and killing other kids in Springfield. So at one point, not too far in the near past, they were in our school system. They were in our care. We were responsible for them. The educators were responsible. Yeah, sure, they have parents, but they are in school for most of the day. So it would be nice to see that there would be some curriculum at the high school level and probably a better process on how to deal with this when you're a parent, because it's hard. It's not easy to go through the whole process.
Well, Ms. Felix, I want to thank you for sharing your daughter's story, and I know that we talked recently as well. As a mom, it really hurts me when I hear about things happening to children, and one of the reasons, and we talked about this, the main reason why I ran for school committee was thinking about all those students that don't have an advocate or don't have family members that know how to advocate for them. And so, with that being said, a few months ago, we did have a meeting, a subcommittee meeting, around our policies around safety. And bullying was one of the things that we talked about. I'm sorry, I'm just really emotional right now because it really hurt. I know your daughter, and we've had these conversations, and so it really bothers me. But at any rate, we talked about the policies, and there are policies in place. The problem is if the policies are not being followed, then that's where there's the issue, and that's when we have to bring these things directly to the superintendent's office and to administration. And so one of the things that I want to say to you and to any of the other parents that are listening is that when you encounter situations and you feel that they're not being dealt with appropriately, that doesn't mean that the district doesn't have a policy for it. That just means that it's possible that they're not following the policy, and we need to know so that we can then deal with it appropriately. So I know the principal very well, and I will absolutely reach out to her. She's a friend of mine. But also, when it comes to administration, this is something that we're going to talk about. As far as the curriculum is concerned, we'll be having a subcommittee meeting on curriculum, and I will bring that up as well to ask about a curriculum that we can utilize, not just in Renaissance, but in all the schools. Because one of the things that I do know, and just knowing even Aria at Renaissance, she's great, she's phenomenal. She doesn't stand for that kind of stuff. So anything that, it needs to be talked about on that level so that everyone is aware of what's happening so that we can make sure that these things are being executed properly. But the other thing that I wanted to say is that I started Parent Villages, and you did come to a meeting recently. And part of the reason why I started Parent Villages, we had our last meeting for the school year, but we'll resume in September, is because we want to give families an opportunity to learn more about these things, about how to advocate, who to talk to, what do you do? Know that you're not alone. Know that there's many of us that have that same compassion and that same feeling and empathy about the children that are in our district, which is why we work in labor and have 2 and 3 jobs that we don't get paid for, because we care about our community and we're trying to do the best that we can. So I'm hopeful that I've said something that will console you enough that you feel like something is happening. But at the end of the day, call me. You know my number, and you probably know where I live. Come see me and let me know that things are moving in the right direction and whether or not you're satisfied with what you're seeing happen, because we want to make sure she's taken care of. But at the end of the day, my job is to make sure that this is not happening to other kids as well. So I appreciate you bringing that up, and I'm going to be quiet before I ramble. But I appreciate you saying that, and I want you to know we are paying attention to these things. And we are talking about them, and we're learning about the policies and what do we need to do to ensure that these policies are handled appropriately, especially bullying, but also even when it comes to the threats, the bomb threats and all these other different things, making sure that our kids are educated, because if they are not taught how to be, I look at it this way, the bullier is a victim just as much as the one that they're bullying, because what happens is they never can keep a job, they don't know how to function in society, they're getting arrested, they're the ones beeping at you and driving you off the road because they're bullies, right? So we need to make sure that not only those kids that are being bullied are being handled, but also those that are the bulliers, that they're learning how to behave properly. So, thank you.
And what, just to add, maybe when you do those curriculums or you review those curriculums, that maybe you should have those people that are being affected by them at the table to help with those decisions as well.
Most people are not aware of this. Our subcommittee meetings are public meetings, so anyone can come into the subcommittee meeting. So you look on the website, you'll see when they're posted. They're usually posted at least, at minimum, sometimes we'll have something happen and we have to have a meeting immediately. At least 3 business days in advance, we have to post it with the clerk. So anyone can come to those meetings and be a part of those conversations, and not necessarily waiting for someone to invite you into the conversation, because I know enough people that I may not remember to call you. But if you're paying attention to our web pages, our Facebook pages, or just going on the website, you'll be able to keep track of when those meetings are and pop in, ask the questions.
And that's the Springfield Public School
website.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
So just to follow up real quick, I just have to say this because I didn't mention this. We do have something in place that's going to be implemented for the next few weeks, because what happened was really bad. But I am pulling my daughter out of the Springfield Public Schools. She's going to be homeschooled, but that's not going to stop my involvement with ensuring that the rest of the kids in the city are not put in a position that Cheyenne was put in for the last several years.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Marilyn.
So very quickly, I just want to thank School Committee Woman LaTonya Naylor for her efforts in the bullying issue, and I want to offer our support on the City Council side. If there's anything that we can do to assist, we'll be happy to do so. But for the record, I just want to say your daughter and my daughter and Tahira's daughter, who's back there, just graduated from a 6-month program through the Women's Fund of Western Massachusetts. They all gave a great speech last night. They were all very talented young women. I've met your daughter on several occasions. I don't know if she told you this, but I was actually her proctor when she took her naturalization mock test.
For citizenship.
She was very nervous at the beginning. She ended up getting the first question wrong, but I helped her through the process, and then it was just a breeze from there. She got 100 on the test, so she's a very bright girl, and she has a very bright future ahead of her.
Thank you, Marilyn. Thank you, Orlando. Coming up, we have Minister Johnny Muhammad, and he wants to speak on the topic of School Street, High Street, and Fort Pleasant Avenue.
Greetings. I'd like to take this time to thank you all for having this forum. I'd like to extend greetings to my fellow clergy and to all that's here this evening. I'm here this evening to speak for those who are afraid to speak. I have spoken to several city councilors as it relates to School Street, High Street, Union Street, and Fort Pleasant. The activity that is going on there is destroying the quality of life for the citizens of the city and of that community. For years, not for days, for years, men and women have been allowed to sell drugs, use drugs, prostitute, and stay out on those streets all day, all night, 24 hours a day, 365 days out of the year, and nothing is being done. Our children, our babies have to walk through that. Our elders have to walk through that every day. We have absentee landlords who own the former Puerto Rican Cultural Center on School Street, where they use now as a hangout to just hang there, store their drugs, sleep there, do whatever they do. Absentee landlords. 51 Fort Pleasant Avenue. A young lady in March was shot in the buttocks. The window still has the bullet hole in it. 51 Fort Pleasant Avenue is a drug den. You can go there any time of the day and see traffic going in and out of there like they're going to Kentucky Fried Chicken. Absolutely right. I'm saying this to you because something needs to be done. How can we say that Springfield is this great city, but you allow, or we allow, this type of activity to go on. 2 years ago, and I would like to ask this question. Have you ever heard of a name, Juliet Kimball? I'll take that as a no. This was a young lady, a woman, found in the dumpster on High Street. Found in the dumpster. 2 years later, that still sends chills down my spine, because that young lady was somebody's daughter, somebody's granddaughter. That could be one of our daughters. That could be one of our children walking to school one day and get apprehended by one of those young men or those women, and something tragic could happen to them. You can go there or any time of the day and see what's going on. We know that there's drug activity. We know that there's prostitution, but I'm being told that, what can we do? Well, I'm a licensed private detective. Cases come through my hand every single day. It's called loitering, prostitution, common street walking, trespassing. All these charges can be brought against these individuals who insist on living that type of life. Now, don't get me wrong. I love my people, because it's my people who are out there. And then we have others from other communities that come there because they know that that's where they can get the drugs. I don't want to see my people locked up. But if that's going to get them clean, because we don't have service on demand. I want to get clean, I can go into a program and get clean. We don't have that here in our community. So if you go to jail because you don't want to adhere to the rules and regulations of life, then so be it. You get clean in jail. Because now you got 3 meals and a cop. You don't have drugs. You kick your habit in there and hopefully get some programs, get something underneath your belt to come out and live a productive life. My concern are for the mothers, the grandmothers, and the children who have to walk through that madness every single day. Our parks, Johnny Appleseed Park, Magazine Park,
Jefferson Park.
Our children can't go there and play and have a good time without having to go into seeing alcohol, marijuana, crack cocaine, dope being shot and used in these parks. But you go to Forest Park, they got park rangers. They have park rangers. I have never seen a park ranger in Magazine Park. I have never seen a park ranger in Johnny Appleseed Park. Never. Excuse me for raising, that's just the minister in me.
That's okay, that's okay. We're under guidelines, you're okay.
But there's something that has to be done. And I'm coming to you, and I have spoken to Jesse, and I want to thank you for taking time out to speak with me. I think I've talked to my dear sister. I think I spoke to Councilman Edwards. I haven't spoken with you, sir. I have spoken with Councilman Hurst, and there's supposed to be a meeting with the police commissioner, so forth and so on. But something has to be done. We can't allow this to go on any longer. Because truth be told, if those individuals, that if you go out there right now, I would guarantee you there's at least 25 men and women on School Street walking up and down, using the hallways for their bathrooms, to shoot dope, to trick, to do whatever that they do, that our children and our people who live in these buildings have to see. This is going on. And I guarantee you that if that activity and all those individuals were down on Main Street in front of MGM, something would be done about it right away. It wouldn't take 2, 3, 4 years. It would be something done right now, right this minute. So I'm asking, I'm pleading for those who are not willing to stand for their own rights because of fear. I was on Fort Pleasant the other day and I spoke to the custodian and he says, I can't say nothing. I'm afraid. See that young man over there? That's my son. I don't want nothing to happen to him. I've called the management company in New York City to get the video of the shooting. This has been over 3 weeks, they still haven't gotten back with me. Absentee landlords who don't give a damn about Springfield, all they want is revenue. And we need to stop them from coming in, buying up the city, and not checking in. And I think I've sent pictures to you, or you've seen the pictures of the dump that 51 and 49 Fort Pleasant has in their backyard. I'm asking you to take a walk. When you leave here today, drive down School Street and see what we see every day. Something has to be done, or we're going to have a tragedy and the blood is going to be on our hands, because we as leaders, as servants of the people, we know that this is happening, and we're standing by and doing nothing about it. So I'm pleading with you to please help us, help our community to clean itself up and help our people to get treatment, do whatever we can so that we don't have another tragedy like Juliet Kimball. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Johnny. We really appreciate it. Okay. And Councilor Edwards is going to respond to that.
Well, I'm going to attempt to. I wish that in this imperfect world I had a perfect answer for you. Every one of those streets and descriptions of the areas that you spoke of, I know personally. And unfortunately, we can continue to talk about other parts of the city like Worthington Street, Federal Street, former Buyer Street before it was investments made there. I remember Adams Playground, we used to call Welfare Park, Benton Park. I mean, all across the city. None of this is new. I'm 59 years old in August, and unfortunately, these are the same conversations we keep having time and time again. You may remember just within about 2 months ago, there was 2 murders in 3 days. Well, if you were to stand in front of my house on my steps, and if it wasn't for the houses, you could throw a rock and hit all spots where men were murdered within walking distance, and where, in fact, my wife actually walks her dogs on 3 to 4 times a day. So it's not, the thing is it's not like I'm blind to what's going on. For years, or when I started in politics, for those who don't know, or in community service, with my wife on Walnut Street with a pair of gloves and a bag, picking up the trash because I was tired of my neighborhood being dirty and I couldn't get a response from the city. Well, 8 years into this as a city councilor and as the president of a nonprofit that does environmental work, and as the president of Maple Heights Six Corner Neighborhood Council, I can't sit here proudly telling you that I've accomplished as much as I would have liked when I first started. But whether we're talking about the Knox Street Market, which is so much better than what it was when I moved there 20 years ago, or any of the other places around the neighborhood, and in fact, I was a member of the Puerto Rican Cultural Center, and we had a problem with people coming into the building at that time, before Roca moved down there. Temple Street, our hospital for emergency was the Weston Hospital, and the area had problems since back when the Weston Hospital was open. So it's not like these things are new. When I've had the ear of present commissioner and past commissioners, I've suggested, and I can remember Mr. Fitch talking about his disdain for substations. And he described his police cars as being moving or rolling substations, and they had all the things that they needed to do in order to move. And what my response was is like, when I go to church in East Long Meadow and I'm going out Tiffany Road and I see a police officer sitting in the parking lot at the temple, the Jewish temple, on Sunday morning, he could very easily be parked at the corner of Temple Street, Spring, or High Street, or any of those other areas that we are talking about. And even if he stays there just for 2 or 3 minutes, for 5 minutes, his very essence disrupts the flow of traffic. I'm not an angel. I'm eager and happy to share my background And, you know, I'm not a big guy who's into theatrics, but I know when I was out there doing the things that I do, you know, when the police roll by, I don't transact business when the cop is sitting in front of me. So I wait for him to drive by. But it's the same thing when I see my community leaders come out into my neighborhood and march. And when the mayor and his people in his office come walking through, yeah, while he's on the street, we don't sell no business. But we just wait for him to turn the corner and we continue to do what we do. So I wish I had a better answer for you. What I've done since I've been involved in politics, and I mean, I don't carry the banner of leadership to the degree that you do and many other people in our community, but I got frustrated and tired, and I started doing things like picking up the trash, because I know people who do that type of thing don't want to be in areas where it's clean, or where it's well lit, or where your neighbors are engaged. Those are things that I could actually take control of. I live at 20 Dexter Street. You cannot park your car in front of my house and roll a joint or a blunt without me taking a picture of your license plate or me writing down the description of your car and sharing it. It was a lot easier, and I was a lot more confident doing that back before I had my accident, when I thought I could fight, and at the very least I thought I could run. But since then I can't do either one of them. So I'm a little bit more discreet, but I have no fear about engaging people who are doing things, and I will not tolerate it on my street or within sight of where I live. Some of the tools that I've been able to utilize in my neighborhood, unfortunately, would apply across the city, because you talk about landlords. Well, I had a drug house within eyesight of my front second floor porch. And when I couldn't get the response from the police that I felt was acceptable, and I understand the logic of what they're saying. They said they can't go in and kick the door in because I say they're selling drugs there. So what we did was that I looked for new tools to use. And I reached out to Dave Carter, who's my Superman. So I did work to find out who the owner of the building was, similar to what you suggested you've done. But I didn't wait to hear back from the landlord. When the landlord didn't respond to my request for information, I went to code enforcement and I convinced them to do a sweep. So I know I got cussed out by a lot of people in the Maple Heights 6 Corner neighborhood one Saturday morning when the police rolled up with code enforcement, health department, fire department, and a whole couple of other departments. And they started harassing everybody, not just the drug dealer. But the effect of it was they knew whose house they were going to target. And then all those fines went to that landlord, because generally people who sell drugs sell a lot of properties that are not well maintained. So the message got back to the landlord that they were going to be harassed by code enforcement because of the traffic that was coming out of their house. That is only one of the many tools that I've seen used, or I've started to learn about. But I didn't know about using that type of tool 20 years ago. It does work. The other thing, you know, on a more broader kind of thing, and I don't want to keep rambling, but I support a livable wage. I recognize that many of the people that are out there selling drugs, they're out there selling and standing in the rain and just hanging out on a corner because they don't have the skills and they don't have the confidence that they can get a livable wage. And I support us paying more for the work we do. And it is a sad commentary when a grown man or a grown woman can't get a job and feed her own children. I'm hearing people talk about summer jobs for kids. Well, I'm working on trying to get daddy a job and mom a job. I can't spend all my energy trying to worry about a kid getting a job in the summertime when dad don't have a job in the wintertime to pay for the oil. So it's too complicated for me to sit here at the podium and say that I have all the answers. But I understand exactly what you're talking about. The lady that you described is not the only person in my life who was found in a dumpster in the city of Springfield. And on the corner of Mr. Avenue, I believe in 1976, my cousin stabbed 6 times and 3 kids upstairs. And that changed the trajectory of my life. Because up until that point, I didn't smoke weed. I didn't smoke cigarettes. I didn't drink, I still can't drink. But the point is that I had a plan of where I thought my life was supposed to go, and it took me almost a decade to get over the tragic events of my family. And I don't sit here as no angel because I can't walk around acting like I'm better than anybody else or that I have solutions. But I understand, and I feel for you, and I know exactly what's going on down there, and I see it. I just don't have all the solutions. When Gordon Pulsifer from First Resources came to me and asked for my support because he wanted to acquire the buildings along High Street, and we talked about what was going on there, what he assured me was when finished, that it would change the nomenclature of the neighborhood. I see that as happened in the Hollywood section. My first apartment out of college out of Westfield State was on Saratoga Street, and back at the time that I moved on to the 4th floor on Saratoga Street, that neighborhood and area was only known for buying guns, prostitutes, and drugs.
And I'm gonna just stop you right there. I want to thank you, Councilor Edwards. And I think that we all have a past. We all have barriers that that block us from moving forward. And I just want to say that you have support. You may not be able to do everything the right way or the way that everyone expects you to, but there are people out here that will support you. And if you reach out and even allow us to assist you, we can certainly back you up. I don't ever want you to feel like you're alone, especially with Neighbor to Neighbor and most of these people. But there are alternative ways to get our neighborhoods going. The gun violence in your ward is it's up there, as well as the McKnight area and the North End. And we should all be working together to see how we can control this gun violence, period. We're losing all our kids. We all have the same story, maybe just a little bit different, but just understand that you have support, and if you need it, we're here to back you up.
Is there anything that can be done by the city council, the state representative, any pressure that can be applied so that we don't have to come out of our house? And I don't live in that area. I live in Forest Park. But I'm a servant of this city. Minister Farrakhan didn't put me over a ward, a community. He put me over a city. And when I see this going on in our city, something needs to be done. And I'm asking, is there anything that the government officials can do to expedite getting these young men and women off of this block, these blocks, to clean the streets up? Thank you.
Minister, I expect that several of my colleagues.
And I'm going to, and we're almost limited on time, so I just want to let you know. Just one more.
Just one more. Okay, so I think we'll be okay.
Okay.
I expect that you've raised really important points, and they're points that I think cut across the city. It's not, it isn't just those streets, so I understand. Those are hot spots right now. We've had the opportunity to speak about these, and I'll just let you know what I've done since our conversations, and I always appreciate when we have the opportunity to talk. On the Fort Pleasant Street, we were in touch with code enforcement. Code did inspect. They issued a citation. I know that's not enough. They went with the citation, was not paid. They went back, re-inspected, issued another citation. So they are beginning the process of getting in there. What we have a broader issue is when you have an absentee landlord, as you mentioned, in New York City, owns properties all across the Northeast, they get a $150 ticket. Maybe they pay it, maybe they don't, but that's not going to throw a big wrench in their operation, right? So we certainly need to have a plan for blight reduction across the city and holding those absentee landlords accountable. I don't have that plan now, but I can tell you that I think that you're beginning a really important conversation. On the issue of speaking about getting folks connected and improving their quality of life, including the folks that are out there on the street right now, the plan that I've been working on in coalition with the police commissioner, with our state delegation, with the sheriff's department, is around a program called Hub and Core. And we've had the chance, I think, to talk about Hub and Core before, but what it looks at is trying to identify high-risk individuals who are either at a high risk of committing a crime or becoming the victim of a crime, evaluating why they're in that scenario and getting them service connected with the programs that do exist in the community. So essentially, if an individual was coming into contact regularly with the police department, such as in being stopped regularly standing on the corner of Fort Pleasant Avenue. By the way, I drive by 51 Fort Pleasant Avenue on my way home every single day. Grew up on the corner of Bay and Clarendon, lived there for 22 years. So I'm familiar with this, and I saw people that I grew up with go down a very different route than what I went down. I was lucky, had a lot of resources, privilege, had the opportunity to do the things that I've been able to do. Many people I grew up with didn't have that opportunity. So why I'm a big fan of Hub and Core, and why I'm proud that we were able to work with the mayor to see it in this year's budget, and we're working with the legislature now to try to hold down some funds in a conference committee to bring state money here for it, is because it's something that we haven't been able to do before. It's something new to say, no, we're not just going to arrest you and put you in jail, but we're also going to find you the services you need so that if you either can be diverted from jail into a service-based program, or when you get out, you're able to come back as a healthier, more responsible, and upstanding member of the community. That's what I want to see. So that's what I'm working on. I will say, I know you talked to Councilor Hurst. He is planning a public safety meeting with the commissioner, but that's what I'm able to share with you today. It's not the answer to everything, but it's what I'm able to share today.
No, I just, honestly, my colleague had spoke about some things that, are ways that we can combat this situation. I know for sure that we have just reignited a different approach on the downtown district called the Metro C3, which basically it disbanded the South End C3, but it covers from the train station all the way down to Mill Street. And they've been meeting, I guess, at the new South End Community Center, which I know that, in a better world, we love the fact that in some neighborhoods we can kind of police ourselves. And like you said, some of us in these neighborhoods, we don't live there. And what I've seen in my neighborhood, because I was born and raised here in the North End, still live in the North End, and what I've seen is that they have placed officers that grew up in this neighborhood. It's about some of these folks that are involved in C3 programs. What I would like to see is more of the folks that we have that wear the badge are placed in these units that were born and raised, because there's a different attitude when it comes to some of the folks that live here. Orchard Street is not the same street it was a year ago, 2 years ago. Plainfield is definitely a different place. When I go out there, I feel comfortable that I can send my son to the Lead store. But when it comes specifically to these neighborhoods that you have talked about, it's on the rim of my district also, but it's going to take it takes people, it takes citizens and residents to go out there and really join hands with folks like and our clergy and Minister Farrakhan, and really understand what it is that they are doing, and then what it is that we can do to bring our local law enforcement together. The code enforcement is just one piece. I know that the newly formed Metro C3, which is supposed to go from West Columbus Ave all the way up to about Chestnut or as high as Spring Street, and that's going to be just one unit that is going to be just directed into that area. But I think this is, it comes to a time when enough's enough. And we don't want to see another Julia Kimball. It's not a secret that I lost my niece on High Street. And somebody knows somebody that we've lost to an act of violence, or if they're sick, and if it was drug related. But essentially, this is the city that we live in, and the only ones that's going to love our residents and love our neighborhoods is us.
It's us, right?
And I'm going to just, on that note, I'm with you, whatever it is that we can do. But for the most part, I know that I'm going to do everything in my power to better serve and to better get the resources that we need to combat those situations, even though it's been happening for so many years.
Brother, I just want to thank you for your ongoing commitment to redirecting young people and residents in this community to positive, and you've had a lot of great results. What I tell you, what I'm going to do tomorrow morning, I will definitely call on 51 Pleasant Street code enforcement, and also highlight the concerns that you addressed, which I'm sure you have addressed and somebody else, but the more people get involved, the more people keep complaining about these things, the better it is. I think whether it's a city government, state government, federal government, nobody wants to see that in any city, in any neighborhood. And I think, for the most part, every elected official is going to try to do what potentially they can, but we have to reinforce it by community efforts. I don't allow it in my street, I don't allow it in my neighborhood, and I call. And sometimes it continues to happen, and loud music and everything else. But we got to stay involved, we got to stay engaged, and we got to stay united. But I want to salute you, but I'll tell you, I'll do that. Those two things on 51 Pleasant Street, called code enforcement. There's trash in the back, that's a concern, and I think they can do something to rectify that with the landlords, as well as the police issue about looking into what activity is going on there, and then potentially be able to address it. I have full confidence in our police department, the commissioner. I think he wants to rid that Again, I have full confidence in our mayor wants to do this city better. I mean, you know, whether it's Harena, we all work together to try to get it done, whether it's a community issue, whether it's a street paving issue, whether it's, you know, and the clergy, you play a significant role. I mean, the 60s and civil rights was part of the movement of the spiritual community. So you play a significant role. I salute you and commend you, and I will continue to work on your behalf.
Thank you, Carlos. Thank you, Brother Johnny. And to address what you had said also, for minimum wage, we do have the petition in the front desk for anyone who hasn't signed it to try to bring minimum wage up to 15, just so that those that believe in that are able to, you know, get that going in 2-3 more years.
And so I just want to sing my swan song that I sing all the time. We need to think about long-term as well. It's very important, and those who study education the way that I do know that the more that we get our kids graduated, the more that we get our kids through school, they're less likely to be the ones on the streets causing these problems. And so as much as we want to do something immediately, we also need to think of the long-term trajectory of our children, making sure that they have youth centers to go to, making sure that we are doing our part, going to these centers, being volunteers, going to the schools, volunteering as mentors, supporting the schools, because there's a bunch of children that don't have people in their life that care about them. And if they have someone that's willing to come and read with them or come and sit with them and mentor them, that makes a difference in that child's life. And so I want you all to be thinking about that as well, especially our men of color. We are lacking men of color in our schools. They're always asking, we need more men of color, we need more men of color. We need you to come out and we need you to support in that way as well. So I just wanted to say that, because
no problem.
I try to say it as much as possible because it's very important to our children.
And it's also not that they don't care about them, but also a lot of parents don't know how to raise them. And as a society, it's best that we try to assist and guide and advise, you know, our fellow constituents and people. You're welcome. Our next person, our final speaker, we have Mike Rivas, and he'd like to speak on the youth.
While Mike makes his way up here, I just want to say we do want to be respectful of folks' time. So I think after the list is up, I know some people have a couple other events to go to. We want to have Mike come, but several of us will stick around after. So if there are additional questions, you can come speak with us directly.
Yes.
Well, here we are again. Just as you know, I showed up at the last town hall meeting, and I'm at this one. I probably continue to be coming to all of them until my issue is taken care of. Now, call me a liberal if you want to, all right? But I firmly believe, and the school committee woman pretty much said it, that our youth, today's youth, are our future. And if we don't do something now, as a good gentleman, he's got it.
Brother Johnny.
All right, saying, we're going to lose our kids. We're going to lose them. Now, last time I came before you, I talked about programming, you know, for our youth. And I'm here doing it again. You know, unless we can figure out some kind of way of creating more programming, and I don't mean making separate programs. We have programs out there right now that are serving youth, but they're not serving all of them. Okay, for whatever reason, they're not serving them. I'll give you a good example of what I mean by serving our kids. We used to have what we call the PACE program, okay, down here. And that was coaching kids. I myself, I coached kids for 30 years. All right? Proud to tell you, I even coached this kid. All right? I coached so many kids that the ones who I coached when they were small, I was coaching their kids, okay, after a while. But that's just part of it. Okay? That's just part of it. Unless we can figure out some kind of way of creating more of a collaboration between South End Community Center, the YMCA, Dunbar, okay?
We don't have a community school.
What's that?
No, I said we don't have a community school, like for our kids, our center.
Yeah, okay, but we do have the YMCA on Dover Street, okay, North End Youth Center. All right, so, I mean, there's no reason that we can't turn around and get those groups together, okay, and try to form some kind of collaboration.
Oh, that'd be nice.
Orlando, you were there at that meeting that we did. I organized a meeting at the YMCA. Unfortunately, it never went anywhere, right? Because the bottom line is everybody's looking for money, okay? Money isn't the answer all the time, folks. And that's what we, as a community, as elected officials, need to get out, okay? It is not an issue of money all the time. It's an issue of just being someone for those kids, being a mentor, okay? Many of my kids who I coached over the years, okay, they all came, a lot of them came from a one-parent household. Today, you know, I see those same kids, and they are two parents, okay? They learn. And that's what I think we need to do, all right? So, Jesse, like I said, this is my second time. I'm gonna keep on coming until this message gets drilled through to everybody.
Thank you, Mike. And that's going to be the end of our town hall meeting. Okay. Adam will address it, and then I'll...
No, I just want to say, Mike, thank you. As a community member and obviously a ward counselor, I've seen a lot of work that all of you have done, specifically within our ward. But I also want to just, you know, just like he said, there's organizations here that are doing the work and might just be working underfunded. And that's why we have, you know, champions at the state level like Rep. Gonzalez that make sure that some of these organizations now are getting that fair shake, or he's working towards that, you know, and that's something collectively that we need to try to do better and work cohesively. Like I remember that my colleague, school committee woman, Latonia Naylor, had stated that they have a collaboration between MLK, Boys and Girls Club, South End Community Center, and Dunbar and Family Center in that region, that wherever, if you're a member of any of those, basically is what you're saying, if you're a member of any of those organizations, or if you're a kid that's a member of, you can go to any of those teen centers. And the YMCA is kind of an umbrella of 3 of those. And the YMCA, we do have the North End Youth Center. I used to be a program coordinator before I was an elected official across the street from Rep. Gonzalez's house, is where I had his children. And essentially, the New North Citizens Council, even though we don't have a home at the moment, we have different things going on at the New North Citizens Council, that they had a youth program, and you know, we're bringing all that stuff back. And then the city, we just had our budget hearing with President Ramos, that our Park and Rec talked about. We're getting the funding to open the gyms again for over the summer, and we are getting some of the funding back to do some of these recreational stuff back at the parks. So, you know, there is, and the pools are going to be back open, so you guys know that there's a place for them to be refreshed. So we got Harena, and we have 5 Mile Pond, and also Forest Park, and I think it's Milton Bradley, if I'm right. Don't quote me on Milton Bradley, but there is some things coming and happening now, and I understand that our children are pride and joy, and we want to make sure that all of our parks are up to par, and that we're making sure that our future is bright, specifically for them. But Mike, just like yourself, I would like to encourage all of you, do not miss these town hall meetings. Probably there's going to be a time when somebody's going to drop a gem on them, just exactly how Monty told me when I was a kid. I'm going to be honest, I grew up differently, and in the end, I still, in closing, just want to specifically just state this: there's anybody and everybody has a chance to make it, and we have to give them the chance to be able to be a part of it and be a part of this process. And like my colleague from the school committee had stated, when we have a subcommittee meeting, you know, these are open to the public. So the people back at home, if you have an issue that has to do with something with maintenance and development or public safety, these are exactly the times that you come in and you're able to, you have a seat at the table. And we have to take advantage of that. And then we have to take advantage of supporting elected officials or community leaders that are actually putting that best foot forward. And in the end, I just want to thank everybody that came out here to Brightwood Library. It humbles me that, and it's a great honor to always see the same faces at the table. Specifically, in closing, I just want to encourage all of you guys to stay involved with your neighborhood boards. Please get involved with what's going on. This summer is going to be hot. You see something, say something. And with that being said, I just want justice for Jafet. Thank you.
Thank you all. I think if we just want to give the folks up here about 10 seconds each just to say thank you, and then we'll close it out.
Okay.
I apologize for my lengthy response, and if it sounded like a little overpassionate, I do take things personal sometimes.
It's okay, it's okay.
But I do appreciate the opportunity to speak to you. Myself, it's published all over the city, and if you don't get it through the city council, you can get it through some of the other organizations, but I do answer my calls, and I'll spend as much time to solve any problems you have that I'm capable of.
Okay, can we just give the respected elected officials just a little bit of time before we get ready to walk out the door? Thank you.
I just want to say thank you all for the questions and just keeping in touch, and all of you that have been very supportive to me thus far. I just want to say also, any of the things that we're referencing, you can find that information either on the city website or go into the Springfield Public Schools website, any of the policies, all of that kind of stuff. And you're wondering where it is available, it's public information. If you're having trouble finding that information, reach out to one of us, and we're more than happy to direct you to that proper information. Thank you.
Well, just also, just thank you for tonight. And you know, we come to meetings and we echo some of the concerns that are in the community. But there's a lot of positive things happening in Springfield. So we got to be able to embrace that, celebrate that, and also participate in that, because MGM is coming, and that's great. We got to make sure, and they're trying to do an outreach to the community to get folks hired there from our community, so we need to do that. I've been going with the mayor to many ribbon cuttings, to small little businesses on Chestnut Street or Dwight Street, little businesses. That's the key. Again, that's the thing that I champion a lot. And I just saw, I went to the grand opening of the sheriff's office. They opened an addiction center, treatment center, housing bed, where most of the folks previous to the other day, 30 beds were open, had to go to Plymouth to receive that same type of treatment. So I want to salute, you know, Sheriff Kochi is doing that. The DA, the police department, we're all working together, and the key to all this is the community. And we talked about youth. So, you know, we just secured $75,000 for the South End Community Center. We secured $250,000 for the downtown UMass Center. And that's training residents to become nurses within a 1 year period of time, if they have already a previous degree. Those are positive things that are happening in our community. We have the summer youth program that's coming out that we have supported, and now kids are going to be able to get employed. Obviously, not all kids may have the chance because there's a certain limit, but those are positive things that are coming. You know, we have the youth program.
Graduation rate now.
79 graduation. You know, echo that. Let's do what I've seen when I go to really upscale communities. They do a lot of celebration. As well, obviously, they raise concerns. So we need to celebrate that. I like the direction that this city is going. I like the leadership that's going. I think, you know, we have some challenges. We have a lot of work to do, but we're going in the right direction. And I want to just continue to work with my colleagues in the city council, with the mayor, with the chief of police, superintendent, our school committee, folks, clergy, and most important, you, the community, and we'll continue to make this city the bright beacon that everybody outside of the city is talking about. Wow, a lot of good things happening in Springfield, a lot of good things happening in Springfield. And we're going to get a little bump on something that just happened here, you know, a negative bump on that, you know, and I know issue. Let me just say, to the men and women in blue that had to go deal with that situation today, you know, they have to go home to a family. And I saw one of the deputy chiefs today, and I just, you know, said to them that my heart goes out to the men and women that went to deal with that situation today. And we have to have compassion for everybody. So again, the key is continue to work together, continue to move forward, voice our concerns, keep at it, but also celebrate some of our great things that are happening in Springfield, participate in as much as can. Thank you.
Thank you. And we'd like to thank you all for coming today. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Orlando. I didn't see you. You should say Zuma.
A huge thank you to all of you for coming out here this evening and sharing your evening with us. Thank you for your questions and comments. You've given us a lot of homework. But that's what we're here for. We're here for you to listen to your concerns and to address your concerns. Thank you for being active and productive residents of the city of Springfield. I wish I could clone each and every one of you, because if we could do that, we would make our community that much stronger. But thank you for your efforts, and thank you for spending your evening with us.
Thank you all. I just want to thank our volunteers as well. Jeff Burke running the live stream over there. Roger and Ellen who are doing the sign-in. If you know them, they come as one unit, Roger and Ellen. My fiance, Amila, and of course, Zulma, for all your work here. Thank you all so much. And also, just given that we are in the North End, Jafet was all of our heroes up here, and Jafet's mom is with us, Noemi. Thank you for being with us today. And to our clergy members. Thank you very much. Have a great evening.
Meeting adjourned.